Hey y'all, today I want to show you how to do cutouts, and there's probably going to be several different ways that we can get them. We can get some really easy background cutout when you shoot against a white wall. You have to be cautious though. If they have on a white shirt, then it's really hard to cut out a white shirt. Well, it's not really hard, but it makes it a little bit more complicated to cut out somebody that's in a white shirt when they're against a white wall. So if they have a light colored shirt on, it's probably best to put them against you have to kind of weigh it, whether it's the color of their shirt or the color of their hair. The hair is the part that's the hardest part to cut out. So if they're blonde, put them against a dark wall. If they're dark haired, put them against a white wall. Then it's just that much easier. So I'm going to show you a few different ones. So first I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open a document. And I'm going to drill down to some of the ones that we had shot last year for the annual previews. And so those are in my Google Drive, in my shared drives, down to the 2021 Tiger Yearbook, last year's book. Then we go down to, we had them all in the supplement. That's where it was found. And then to the annual preview, all photos, and the photos where they were, and the ones that were used. They weren't actually all used, and I'm going to pick on Riley Kinney just for a second because hers was pretty easy to pick out. So when we shoot them on the background, on the white background, and she is not like anywhere close to being blonde, that's going to make it difficult to shoot off of a white, plus the black pants and the dark jacket makes it really pretty easy to be able to do this. So what are the first things that we have to do? Just so you know, this will be on the midterm final or on the semester final, so you need to know this. So over here we've got our layers. If they're not poked out yet, poke it out. So now you got the background layer. This is the layer that we don't want to touch. We want to preserve that layer. So we're going to duplicate that layer, and you can do Control J, or if you must, right click and click duplicate layer. But I really want you guys to learn how to use all these quick keys. The sooner the better. Then it makes you faster. So Control J gives you your new layer. Then you're going to poke the eyeball. So the first thing you do, duplicate the layer. Then you poke the eyeball. Third thing you have to do is add a mask. So the easiest way to take stuff off is additive instead of subtractive, because if you erase it, it's gone. So what this mask does is it puts a little layer over the top of it, so to speak, where if you add black to it, then it takes it away. If you add white to it, then it brings it back. So black conceals, white reveals. You just got to remember that. Black conceals, white reveals. Sounds weird, but you just have to kind of think of it as a clear piece of acetate or something, and you're going to mark out all the space that you don't want with a mark, like a black marker or something like that. So the fastest way to be able to select her as a subject is to go to select, and it used to be subject. This is new. We've updated all of this stuff. Subject is still here. So we're going to go and select subject. And Photoshop is going to do its best to try and figure out what we want. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not perfect, especially if you're going to be putting it on a different colored background. So with that in mind, I'm going to deselect this really quick, click off of it, or you can do Control D, just select of it. I'm going to add another layer and put it in between these two. You just click and drag. Just click a hold of it, click it and drag it in between so you can see those the two little lines. Now what I want to do here is I want to fill this with an obnoxious color that's not anywhere close to anything that Riley has on. So I'm going to put it, say it's something like a pink. Now why can I not see pink? Because it hasn't been filled yet. Now, just so you know, a quick key to go ahead and fill the entirety of this layer is Alt Backspace. Now, why can't I see it? Because this whole picture is blocking it. See, there it is, poke the eyeball, now it's back. So when I go in here and I erase all of this white, then you'll be able to see all the pink. But the bad thing is, when the edges of the white don't erase, then you don't see the pink behind that either. You see all the white. That's why I put the obnoxious color back there behind it. Okay, so let's go back up to this layer, and we're going to select the subject again. Now we have Riley selected, but I'm going to show you this right down here. So these marching ants, the marching ants shows you what is selected. But we also have this white part. It tried to pick up that one. There's a little bit of a marching ant right there, but it did not pick up in here. It didn't pick up in here. It didn't pick up in here. Now I will go all the way around all of this. It missed this part here. So how do we, and we've got a little bit of white in there. So I've got a couple of different things I'm going to show you how to do on this. The first thing I'm going to show you how to do is first do Control 0. Puts everything back in perspective, or fits it in the window. Then I'm going to zoom in, Control and Spacebar, Control Spacebar, and I can click and drag. And I go right before it pops into the pixels. So now I can see the pixels. I don't want to see the pixels. I want it just before it shows into the pixels. Now I'm going to use the lasso tool. Remember I said I don't really like these two, so I'm just going to go with just the lasso tool. Now Riley herself is what is selected currently, but I want to take this part out of that selection. Anything that's white in her hand, I want to take it out of the selection. So if you hold down the Alt key, you see how it turns my lasso, has a little minus sign on it now? That basically says it's going to subtract whatever you click on in here. If I was to click and drag, it's going to take that part out. I don't want to take that part out. But notice if I go out here, it doesn't do anything to it because that part's not selected. So whatever is selected, this will take away from that selection. Okay, so we want to take this part right here. So I have the Alt key down to tell it I want to subtract. And then I'm going to hold down the mouse because now I've just told it I want to subtract starting here. Keep the mouse down, let go of Alt, and then put it back down. Why? Because it gives you this tool. See how the lasso tool itself has changed? Now what this does is it kind of, I'm going to let go of it again. It gives you a combination of both of these two when you hold down that Alt key and you go back into it and you get rid of that. So hold down the Alt key again, hold down the mouse. I want to start right here. This is the left mouse button. Let go of the Alt so it gives me my combination. So if it will let me click, 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 but it also lets me draw. And I'm going to do Control 0. I've got a feather on. Feather. What is a feather? Let me show you what a feather is. I'm going to go back and come back to that. If you have a feather set right here, then when you try to delete that, it gives it a soft edge. I don't want a soft edge. Not really soft. So I always leave this at 1 unless I was playing with something else. So I'm going to do Control Z a couple times so I can get my Riley selection back. Okay, so Riley selection is here. Now I'm going to take out her hand. Again, hold down the Alt, click with the mouse and hold it, let go of the Alt, put the Alt back down. Now you can let go of the mouse. And then we're just going to click, click, click where we want to get rid of that selection. And we missed this little part, so we're going to add that back in there. It just does not want to go back in there, so we might have to come back with the eraser. Okay, so now I'm going to take this part out, hold down the Alt key so it turns it to the subtract, hold down the mouse, left mouse button, let go of the Alt, press it back down. Now I'm going to click up here and get this little white space in from between her fingers. And this part again, just click and draw. Alt, mouse, Alt again. Then I can click, click, click. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get this part too. Okay, then I'm going to hold down the space bar, let go of the mouse, hold down the space bar, I can click and drag. I'll come over here to this part, hold down the Alt key. Now, she is selected here. I'm on the outside of the selection here. So I'm still going to hold down the Alt key, click, click, come back up into this so it grabs a hold of it, and then come back out and let go of it. It's being very temperamental today, so we're going to have to check it when we come back. Okay, so I'm just going around the outside edge, make sure we've got everything selected. This I might come back with another different manner. And it looks like everything is pretty good for the most part. I don't like how that one picked up. Okay, so I have this all selected. Now what I want to do is I want to get the inverse of this. On this mask, Control 0 puts the whole picture in the window. Now, see where the marching ants are just around Riley. Now I want the outside, I want to fill this back part all with black. So I do Control-Shift-I is to select the inverse. Looks like I bumped it. Okay, so she's got a little bit of a, I know she's going to have a halo around there. So I'm going to go up here, I'm going to go to Select, and I'm going to modify this selection, and I'm going to expand it by 1 pixel. See how it got tighter? I'll go to Control-Z. See, if I'm out here, you can see it's outside of it. Now it's a little bit tighter. So I'm going to go to 0 again, Control-0. Now, remember when I said black conceals, white reveals? So I want this part filled with black. All of this outside, I want it filled with black. And what was it I said you had to fill this part with? Alt backspace. But you got to check and make sure that you're black and white, that you're set to here. You want black in the foreground. This is the background. Foreground, background. This can switch it back and forth, or you can go back and forth with your X key. But I want black in the foreground, and I'm going to make sure that you're selected on the mask, and then I'm going to do Alt backspace. Okay, so it's pretty good. Oh, I got a hold of that selection tool. I don't want that one because I don't like that thing. Escape. Let me get off of this guy. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so Riley looks good. She's all cut out. Let's go in and check on these tight little things. Okay, so you see how it's kind of still white in there? Okay, so on the mask, this is what I mean by additive versus subtractive. So you can come back here now with the brush tool. Because we have added black to all of this, we can come back with white. Again, if I switch back and forth with black from black to white, is with the X key. You can do this guy, but it's just faster when you're over here. Okay, and I talked about the brush tool at one point earlier. Hopefully you've watched that one. If I hold down the Alt key, I can click and drag left and right, top to bottom. That shows my hardness and my softness. Never do you want this to be 100%. I can say almost never you want it to be 100%. You want it to be somewhat soft, even when you go small. Okay, so whatever is pink is going to make this darker. Or in this case, this pink, this red, is what your paint area is. I have white on here, so white is going to make it show back up. But that's not really what we want. We want to make it darker. So we're going to use black. So I'm going to go back in here. I need to make this 70. This is the opacity. If you can see through it, it's translucent. If you can completely see through it, it's transparent. If you can't see through it at all, it's opaque. We need this to be opaque because we don't want to see any part of it. See how it gets a little bit darker in here? Now I can still see Riley's pants back there, so we might need to come back and make that a little bit darker, or we might need to bring that back in. Same thing with her fingers. So I'm going to change this to white now. So I can come back in here and I can bring her fingers back into view. We don't want to cut her fingers off. She kind of needs those to play basketball. Okay, so we're getting this part in here. Oop. Go back just a touch. And then back to white. Okay, and we're going to come back and bring her pants back on there a little bit better. Okay, so then we had some other issues. Down over here. We knew, okay, let's make this black again because we want to darken this part. And we'll go around her pants, around her jacket, and some on her hair. Now this is an illustrator's prerogative. Just because it was there doesn't mean it has to stay there, because sometimes it doesn't look good when it's there. Okay, so if I turn that off, how does this look? Check this out. See how this little bit of transparentness here? It looks okay because the pink is there, but it's not really there. Now it's transparent. So we're going to go back in here with this, and we're going to make sure that Riley comes back on. Make this a little bit darker here to be able to see this white. Okay, I just get a little bit picky on these things. So that looks pretty good. Can be used as a cutout. The only problem is her feet are cut off, but what we ended up using most of them were cut right at the waistline anyway, so that's okay. That's how we had it shot because we knew that's what we were going to do with it. So that's how you do a cutout when you have a white background. So we'll go with a totally different video when we have to do it with not a white background. I'll be back with that in just a minute.